De-dollarization process has begun. Economy that is built on a foundation of low prices and low interest rates implodes.
Peter Schiff is back, and he's not holding back. He warns the next economic collapse could be the worst in U.S. history. Peter explains why gold and silver aren't just options, they're lifelines. What's coming could shock the entire world economy. Stay with us till the end. You need to hear every word.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Federal Reserve really has been the principal architect in the house of cards economy that we're living in, and that is, I think, very close to collapsing. And the problem is not that they're not cutting rates. The problem is that they've cut rates too often in the past, and they've left them too low for too long, and they've printed too much money. Donald Trump does a good job of pointing out some of the consequences of bad monetary and fiscal policy, like our huge trade deficits. But his prescription is completely wrong, right? He says, well, what we need is tariffs and rate cuts. And we actually need the opposite of that. We don't need any tariffs. We need free trade, but we need rate hikes. The reason that our trade deficits are so big is because our interest rates have been so low, and they've encouraged excess consumption. And we haven't been able to produce enough to satisfy that demand. And so we've relied on the rest of the world that is far more productive to produce the stuff that we don't, so that we have something to buy with all the money and credit that the Fed creates. And so we have this huge imbalanced economy, but the source of the imbalances is the United States. It's our monetary and fiscal policy that is the cause. It's got nothing to do with China or anybody else. It's got nothing to do with cheating. It's just our own policy mistakes. And trying to blame the rest of the world for problems that we create just deflects attention from the actual cause and assures us that the problems get worse. They don't get solved. And I think, though, what we're close to, and this is the most significant development, is I think the world is going to be revolting against this system that has disproportionately benefited the United States at the expense of the rest of the world. And that is the dollar's reserve currency status. And that is the enabler of these imbalances. That's what allows Americans to live beyond their means. That's the reason we've been able to get away with these massive deficits for so long, with all the excess consumption and the under savings and this, service sector, consumer-driven economy. It's all a byproduct of the dollar's reserve status. Without that, the whole house of cards would have collapsed a long time ago. But I think, we've already started that process. I think when it concludes, America's ride on the global gravy train is going to be over. And, Donald Trump mischaracterizes this. He says, hey, the world has been screwing us over. The world's been taking advantage of us and ripping us off. It's actually the opposite. And I think the world is now mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore. And they're not going to take our dollars. And so we're going to be stuck with them. And, so what we have been getting is all their stuff, right? All the goods that the Chinese and everybody else produces, we've been getting all that stuff without having to make it. And all we've been doing is giving them our paper, which we print for nothing. But I think this is going to end, and it's going to be a big collapse in the American standard of living, because we're not going to have a lot of stuff to buy. We're just going to have a lot of money to spend. And so prices are going to go through the roof. Interest rates are going to go through the roof because nobody's going to have access anymore to the foreign savings. That's why our rates are low. It's because we're able to tap into the Chinese savings. But when the world no longer wants to make its goods or its savings available to Americans, then we're on our own. We can only consume what we produce, and we can only borrow what we save, which is not enough. So we have a huge increase in consumer prices, a huge increase in interest rates, and an economy that is built on a foundation of low prices and low interest rates implodes. And you have massive bankruptcies, foreclosures, lots of unemployment. I mean, it's going to be far worse than the 2008 financial crisis, and there's going to be no bailouts. And the '08 crisis would have been much worse had there not been any government bailouts, which would have been better because maybe we wouldn't be in this mess today had we swallowed the medicine back then. But this time it's going to be a much worse crisis, and bailouts are impossible because the way the government bailed everybody out in 2008 was by printing money and by issuing more treasuries. But this time it's going to be the dollar and the treasury market that is at the epicenter of the crisis. And so more dollars and more treasuries will just make the crisis worse. So if the government tries to bail anybody out, the crisis that they're trying to, cushion is going to get worse. So their stimulus is going to be toxic. I think we've just had one, right? Because we almost got to 3,500 and now we're barely above 3,200. So we had over a $300 drop. That's about a 10% decline, right, from the peak. That's a pretty good dip. So I think that if you were waiting for a dip, you got your dip. So at this point, there's nothing to wait for. So I think 3,200 is a very good price for gold. It's not going much lower than that. And gold has been rising for many, many years. When this century started, January 1st, 2001, gold was under $300. So it's gone up 11x. Well, since then, it's gone up more than the stock market over that time period. Even if you count the dividends, the stock market hasn't kept pace with gold over that time span. But if you go back to the beginning of the Federal Reserve in 1913, you could buy an ounce of gold for $20. And so gold's gone from 20 to 3,200. Now, gold really hasn't gone anywhere. The ounce of gold you buy today is the same ounce of gold that somebody bought in 1913, right? It hasn't changed, right? It's not like, other things are different, right? The quality gets better, technology, right? So a lot of the stuff we buy today is different than stuff that was bought 100 years ago. But gold is exactly the same. Gold has not changed. And so it's not really that gold is a lot more expensive than it was, or 100 times more expensive than it was 100 years ago. The dollar is 99% less valuable than it was 100 years ago. So you need 100 times the number of dollars today to buy the ounce of gold that you could buy for $1, right? Because of how much purchasing power the dollar has lost. And I think the dollar is going to lose purchasing power at an accelerating rate in the foreseeable future. So that means you're going to need more and more dollars. You're going to need $5,000 to buy an ounce of gold. You're going to need $10,000 to buy an ounce of gold. The gold isn't changing. It's exactly the same. It's the dollar that's. So I think the sooner that you can convert your fake money into real money, the more of your purchasing power you're going to preserve. So yeah, people should absolutely buy gold at this level at 3,200. My company is Schiff Gold. You don't wait. As soon as you listen to this, if you don't have any gold, or even if you do, you want to go to Schiff Gold and buy some. And we don't sell, numismatics or collectibles. We're going to get you a great price on bullion. But if you want to get a really good bargain, buy silver too, because silver is only about $32 an ounce. You can get 100 ounces of silver with 1 ounce of gold. I mean, silver has never been this cheap in the history of silver. So I think silver has got a lot of upside to catch up. So if you think, hey, I was looking at gold when it was 2,000 and shit, I should have bought it. Now it's 3,000. Well, silver is the same price now as it was when gold was at 2,000. So just buy some silver. We sell Schiff Gold. We sell silver at Schiff Gold too, even though it's not part of the name. And we've been selling more silver recently. I've been really, telling people to buy silver. But you should buy both. But I think you should definitely buy silver too. Don't just buy gold, because I think you'll do better in silver right now. The whole system is corrupt. I didn't have any loans. I had 100% reserve bank. I could have sent all my customers their money back 3 years ago. The bank didn't have any debt. And in fact, about 75% of my deposits were withdrawn in about a year after the media came out and accused the bank of all this wrongdoing, because people didn't want to be associated with the bank. A lot of my important contacts would work with the bank. So the whole business was destroyed. I poured millions of dollars into the bank to keep it afloat, to protect my customers, to make sure that we didn't lose any of their money, which we didn't. When the government took over the bank, I had several $1,000,000 in cash more than we owed the customers. And all the deposits were in cash. Now, they were in euros mostly, and pounds and gold. We had a lot of the money in gold because the customers wanted it in gold. I didn't just buy gold. Customers had the option of holding their deposits in gold. And so a lot of customers did. And of course, when the government froze the accounts, gold was like $1,800 an ounce. Now it's over 3,000, but all the customers lost their gold. They're just going to get supposedly the dollars that they were worth back then. Now, who the hell knows where the money went? None of it's going to me, because I haven't had anything to do with the bank in 3 years. There's been an incompetent receiver who's making a fortune, who got appointed to run the bank with zero banking experience, didn't even work as a teller before he was put in charge of my bank. But the whole reason that they shut the bank down, and this is the basis of my lawsuit, I had sold the bank because I couldn't make any money because the reputation was ruined, and my reputation was ruined unfairly, but it was ruined. So I sold the bank. But in order to get the sale to go through, local regulators had to approve it. And so, it's a long process to get anything done here in Puerto Rico.
If Peter Schiff is right, the clock is ticking. The signs are all around us: soaring debt, a crumbling dollar, and a financial system on the edge. Protect yourself. If you found this video valuable, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next video.